You're exactly like me. Like that's what happened to me. The first day that I took my herpes out, I had a herpes outbreak,
Right.
which then went away, and I never had another one.
Right.
And that's you. That's you too, I guess, basically, right?
Kind of. Because actually, I almost literally had one. I thought that I was watching it happen, and then I did Immunix, and it went away.
Right.
That was pretty amazing. Actually, that was a really liberating feeling.
And you've been doing Immunix for about 3 weeks, right?
No, I started. It'll be 2 weeks this Wednesday.
And you were having continuous outbreaks.
Yeah, for about since February 23rd, I guess.
And it's now May 2nd.
Yeah.
So you were having continuous outbreaks, and you immediately, like basically from the first day, cured your herpes. And so you have to keep taking it out for years.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like it was like I stopped finding it after almost 2 years.
Right.
So that's the deal, you know. That's where you're going. But you're doing great.
Well, thank you. I saw in your video you said you were talking about cancer patients, and you said, you know, these people would make a deal to get 2 years as long as, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that, that struck a chord.
Well, sure, because, herpes is completely incurable and no one ever cures it other than this. This is the only cure for herpes, what you're doing.
Right. That's great. It's.
Like you've cured your herpes, right?
Yeah, I have no more pain anywhere. Like I was getting like really bad pain here.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't bothered me in weeks. And this is the thing, even though I really didn't get outbreaks, I always, every day, I would constantly have like pain all over my throat bone, into my ear.
Yeah, you were having internal herpes outbreaks. I mean, that's what your doctor told you anyway. And also, we tested that herpes was being enabled by the Epstein-Barr virus, and I want you to test it. I cure the Epstein-Barr virus.
Oh wait, did I cure the Epstein-Barr virus? Yes.
So you cured both of them. You had to cure both of them because they were cofactors in each other.
Yeah.
And tell us about your visit in Florida, where you usually would get a herpes outbreak and you didn't get one.
I didn't get one because I was really focused on keeping it removed the whole time I was there.
Have you had one since?
No.
Well, let's keep it out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
How about that? Because it dies off. See, I don't have to check for it anymore. It's gone. But it took me years. I kept finding it in my spiral body.
Yeah.
But now I don't find it anymore when I check. It dies off. If you don't let it outbreak, it dies off. So if you keep it out of your spiral, gravitate, those bodies for, for me it was probably around 18 months. That's how you cure it. But you just have to, keep checking, okay? Promise?
Yeah.
Okay, well. Were you scared when they told you? I was. That was 1965. It was, I guess it was probably November. I'm not totally, I don't think I've actually remembered the exact month for years, but I was deathly ill at Thanksgiving. I remember that. The owners of the little hotel I lived in South Beach gave a dinner for all the people living in the hotel down on the patio, and I was laying in my bed puking my guts out. I was throwing up buckets of mucus. I caught it from a nurse. And I caught a staph infection with it. So I got both. Lip and genital. Why do things halfway, right? And but see, I didn't know it was incurable. I was too sick to go to the doctor. So I barely could get out of bed. And then I started to, you know, pass through that, and I dragged myself. Well, first I went down to the lifeguard stand where I'd met the the nurse, and I talked to one of the lifeguards, and he told me that she had the staph infection. I don't know if she ever knew she had herpes. I never saw her again. But I went to Jackson Memorial and pleaded poverty with the social worker. I told her I was a college student and I was a starving college student, and she, you know, gave me the go-ahead to go in and get seen by the doctors. And there were a whole bunch of interns looked at me. I don't think they knew much about herpes back then. So they just, you know, they were all pretty interested in it, though. And then, so one of them finally came in and he said, well, you've got herpes. I heard them talking in the next room anyway, so I knew. He said, you got herpes. And I said, okay, so what do we do? You know, what are you going to give me for it? And he said, it's incurable. And it was like the elevator cable snapped. I just went, oh, we're like, okay. I was terrified. I guess I was 21. It was right before my 22nd birthday. No, it would have been right before my 21st birthday. So I cured it. I was having herpes outbreaks for 28 years. I cured it in 1993. That's how we discovered that you could cure these things when I cured my herpes. See, I'm on the cure team. I actually discovered cure. I'm the person who discovered cure. You see, this particular program is the program for curing herpes. People cure everything with this. And it's all a little different. So you do need a herpes program. Like you want to learn what you need to learn to cure herpes first. And actually, once you've done that, you're going to be able to cure anything. See, you can, if you just focus on one thing, like herpes is a good thing to focus on, you know. At the beginning, you learn all the moves to cure other things, and the other things are different. The cure is, the way you cure them is different. But there's a commonality. Tell you what, this might be a good time to show you some other people than me. And for them to show you what a signal looks like. And you're going to have to get signals to do this, okay? And also, just to get a sense of what the other people who do this are like, what they've done for themselves, and you know how it's been for them. Just get a connect with another person, a few people instead of me, instead of just me. This is a gift to you from a lot of people, thousands of people really. So here are three. Is to start by telling people a little about us and who we are. And also I want to show them how to test. Because for anybody to understand this program, those are the things that they need to understand. So, everybody hold up your hand so we can see what testing looks like. Okay, so Ross has got her hand up, and Keely has hers up, and you all test differently. That's one thing we're going to notice, is that people test differently. And so Barb's got her hand up. And test this question, have I ever cured a medically incurable disease? And see if you get a signal.
Yes.
Okay, let me see your signal, Barb. That's what that looks like. Okay, she got it a minute ago. I didn't have it on camera. Kelly, test that question. Have I ever...
I did. Yeah, my ring finger's been bobbing.
Okay. And Ross?
I got yes.
Okay. And what does your yes look like?
My fingers open like this.
Just a little bit. They come apart, sort of, for you.
Yeah, they come apart.
Yeah.
For no, very often they press more tightly together.
Okay. So now what I would like is for us to say the things that we've cured. For example, I've cured 2 kinds of herpes simplex virus, and I haven't had a cold or flu since 1993. And I've also cured a very, very serious case of hemorrhoids, completely gone. And that's more recent. And what about Ross? Say some things that you've cured.
Okay, I've cured the flu, and I usually don't get it anymore, and I can feel it when it's coming.
Right.
For example, from some of my students, and I can kill it before it gets to my physical body.
Right.
And then I have cured anxiety attacks. And
yeah, you were having
backache.
You were having panic attacks. Yes. Did you have panic attacks?
Not panic attacks. Not that serious, but anxiety.
Anxiety.
Attacks,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I didn't know. So thank you. Yeah.
And then I cured my smoking. And then I've helped my sister
let's pause a minute.
Before surgery,
Ross.
Working a lot with her. We were practically every day together. We worked on the tumor she had on the bone marrow, and she was undergoing surgery for that reason, and she was very, very scared. So we went through traumas and lots of other things.
And that's your sister. Was that your sister?
Excuse me, I can't hear you well.
Was that your sister you're talking about? Helping?
My sister, exactly, yes.
So in other words, you've helped other people, like you've helped you're an English teacher, right?
Yes.
Like you teach English at a school in Italy, you live in Italy, and you've helped your students that see you in the school cure the flu.
Yes.
So your students don't get the flu, and they can come to class, right?
Yes.
So we've all helped other people. Barb has helped a great many people cure many things, and Keely, you've helped friends cure cancer and many serious things with people. And
I've cured, and I do immunics with my cat.
And you help your cat too, okay?
Yes.
And I help my cat, and Barb helps her dog and cat. And Keely helps the fish in the ocean behind her condo. she does immunics to keep sharks away when she swims.
No, I help the sea turtle.
Help the sea, that's right, help the sea turtles. Okay.
Right below my window.
All right, so just the fact that you were able, and Keely and Ross have been able to quit smoking. Barb, did you ever smoke?
I never smoked cigarettes, no.
But the fact, Ross did use this to cure smoking, and I think you can see from that, when you think about that Ross can help you lose weight, because if you can help somebody cure smoking, you can help them lose weight.
Yes?
Absolutely. I mean, the two things are very, very related, and everybody who's overweight knows that. And in fact, a lot of people, when they stop smoking, put on weight, and they won't stop smoking because they're afraid of putting on weight. And when they're heavy, sometimes they start smoking to lose weight. People do that. They think, oh, if I smoke, I'll lose weight. That always works, and they do it, and they lose weight that way. So what we're going to try to do here, is help people who it's very difficult to help, the people who are watching this movie. as we all know, because we all have experience, you know, all four of us have experience trying to help our friends. And often they just don't understand that we know something that they don't know and that they need to know it, which is pretty sad, you know, pretty tragic. That they really can't avail themselves of what we have to offer them. They're just not able to see it. You know, we have to you know, we have to talk to them in a way that enables them to see it. So so I want to start by saying...
You want us to say what we cured?
Oh yes, that's right. Keely, you go ahead and talk about what you've cured next. That's what we'll do next.
Okay, so I cured, about 12 years ago, I cured nodules and scarring in my liver, and a potentially serious liver condition. I cured low functioning thyroid permanently, cured a tendency toward fibrocystic breasts, questionable mammograms. Since I started removing it, I never got questionable mammograms again. Cured countless colds and flus. And then non-physically, I cured negative beingness and just numerous issues.
Well, I want to go back to something. When you say that you cured liver nodules, one thing that we need to make clear is that you were medically diagnosed by, I guess it was one of the top doctors in Philadelphia.
He's the head of gastroenterology at Jefferson Hospital.
That's right, and he was your doctor, and he diagnosed you with liver nodules, and then you had a liver biopsy months later after curing this, and there was nothing.
Yeah, he couldn't explain why what happened to them, but they were gone.
We're miracle workers. And we can show people how to do that with weight and health. Okay. Barb, let's go to what have you cured? Let's do that next.
Cured. I've cured a lot of things. I've cured clinically HSV1, Epstein-Barr. I use a lot of this preventatively. I don't get any colds or flus anymore. I've always tested, or often tested things like cancer, Parkinson's, things like that, MS, fibromyalgia, but I've never manifested them. I've just cured them before I manifested them too intensely. But I have no symptoms.
You've cured addictions.
I don't anymore. Depression, anxiety, addiction.
So now, presumably, you have an idea, and of course, this is my signal. I'll put my hand closer to the camera than they had theirs. You notice that's my movement. This is what my signal looks like. I'm not actually getting a signal there, but that's what it looks like. It looks like a tiny movement of my pinky. And if you want to try getting a signal at this point, you could try it. You can make a statement or ask a question, see if you get a signal on it, and if you do, that means that the statement is true or it's yes to the question, and so on. Oh, for example, you could ask, can I cure my herpes? And see if you get a movement. And if you don't get a movement, don't worry about it, because no movement actually means no. So you may be getting a signal, but the signal may be no, that you're not able to cure your herpes at this time. Well, it's understandable. You haven't worked yourself into it. So it's possible that you're not able to cure your herpes right now. It doesn't mean you'll never be able to cure it. It just means no for now. But also you might not be getting a signal, and there are other movies about getting a signal. So if you're having trouble getting a signal, I'm going to put a link on the page where this movie is embedded, right under it. And it'll just say, if you're having trouble getting a signal, here are some movies you can watch and see if you can get a signal. And you might as well try watching a few of them anyway, even if you're getting a signal, just to sort of ground yourself in it and understand the variations it can take. There's a lot of movies, and you can spend a lot of hours actually doing that. I think there's a whole bunch of movies there, so you might be able to spend 2 or 3 hours just seeing if you can get a signal. Or you can just, figure that whatever the signal you're getting is good enough and go on from there. Basically, any signal is fine. Signals are involuntary. That's the identifying thing. Let me see if I can get a signal and show you. Like here, let me try this, okay? Am I happy? You notice that little twitch? That's actually more like what my signal looks like than because that was a signal, you know? And that's more like what my signal looks like than the one I showed you before. Just an example, okay? All right, so now you're going to actually learn how to cure herpes, now that you see what a signal is. I just thought I'd devote a little, you know, special part to what a signal is. So that would maybe orient you. And now it's time for you to, you know, see what it's like to cure your herpes. So I'm going to show you a movie of a woman. So anyway, this is a movie where she is actually having a herpes outbreak, and I should probably explain a little about this, because she has oral herpes, and you know, she often gets the lip thing, you know, the sore on the lip. But she also, the oral herpes went inside of her throat and ear cavity. And see, she has, in the movie, she's also curing another disease, which is called Epstein-Barr. It's the disease that causes chronic fatigue syndrome. You know, when you were a kid, maybe you knew somebody who got mononucleosis. That's the disease. You know, that's what they called it when I was a kid, and now they call it Epstein-Barr, or chronic fatigue syndrome, which is caused by this virus, and that's actually another herpes virus, but obviously not one of the STD herpes viruses, although they used to call it the kissing disease. People used to transfer it by, you know, teenagers transferred it when they used to make out. That was a long time ago for me. I'm almost 70. Brings back memories, rock and roll, you know. Anyway, so she was also, you know, you can cure that. See, we cure a lot of things, obviously. See, here's this I Cured Cancer t-shirt that we, you know, people wear these, and that's how they tell their friends, you know, things about the cure drive, you know. So this, see, what you have to realize is that this is this gigantic organization. We're all over the world, and there are thousands of us, and we've cured everything under the sun, you know. And so what this program is we're trying to help you cure your herpes. We're trying to focus on that in this program and give you something that will, you know, teach you what the basic things that herpes sufferers need to know about curing their herpes. So, okay, here comes this movie. Pay careful attention, then I'll explain more to you after you watch. I want to do a 5-minute demonstration of how to cure herpes where people can actually learn to do it. Now, in order to do that, the person watching this can't watch it. They actually have to do this movie.
Okay.
Because if you watch the movie, you're not going to cure anything, and we won't have shown you how to cure it. The only way for us to show you is if you do the things that you see. So I'm Byard Barnes. I've cured 2 kinds of herpes. I had lip and genital. I never do anything halfway. And Tony Ann, you have not yet cured your herpes. You've been doing this it's been a week since you started getting signals again, right?
Yeah.
So you're just starting on the herpes curing trail, okay.
And currently I'm getting something's going on in my ear.
Okay, so you believe that you have a herpes outbreak in your ear.
Yeah, I feel like a little bump, and the other day I was getting one on my lip, but it never came out to fruition. I think, you know, obviously because I was doing this.
So you stopped it. You stopped the herpes outbreak the other day by you doing this.
Yes.
What they're going to learn. Okay. And now you've got it again.
Yeah. Now it's like I can actually feel the nerve ending, like throbbing. up to my ear.
Right, so you're at the point where you haven't cured your herpes, but you can stop the symptoms sometimes. You're learning gradually and slowly how to actually eradicate the disease from your body.
Yeah.
So in this 5-minute demonstration, we are going to see how far we can get with that.
Okay. Am I connected to my ability to kill my herpes? Yes.
Okay, got it. And it takes a second there to get a signal. So the person watching should give themselves a minute or a second to get a signal. And also,
oh, yeah, it can definitely take up to a minute.
And also keep asking the questions. Ask the next question.
Yeah.
Test this also. Do I have a herpes infection on my lip?
Do I have a herpes infection on my lip? Yeah.
Okay, I'm now killing the herpes in the infection on my lip.
I'm now killing the herpes.
Tell me when you get a signal.
Got it.
Okay, I want you to ask this question. Do I still have herpes in my physical body?
I still have herpes in my physical body. Yes.
Okay, kill it.
I now kill herpes virus.
I'm afraid people are going to think you're visualizing this. You're not visualizing it, are you? You're just waiting for a signal. You're not visualizing anything. These are not visualizations or affirmations. She is actually killing the virus. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, my finger's still moving.
You got it?
Yep.
Do you feel any different?
Yes.
What's the difference?
Very just calm, peaceful.
Okay. Well, I think we made a good demonstration. What do you think?
I think so too.
How do you seem to yourself?
Very calm. Very,
Yeah, that's how you look.
almost like I could take a nap, to be honest with you.
Well, you couldn't sleep last night because you were sick.
Yes.
Did you do any of this when you were feeling that way?
Yes.
And did it help?
Oh yeah, it always helps, absolutely.
And when it helped, I guess you went to sleep when it helped, right?
Yes.
And then after a while you woke up again and you were sick.
Yes.
Now that happened to Franny, the very last flu that Franny ever got. She woke up every hour and a half. She was waking up all night and she would take the flu out of all her bodies. And when she woke up in the morning, it was gone.
Wow.
She never had another flu. That was in 1996. 14
That's
years.
awesome.
Yeah, 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you're feeling very calm now.
Yeah.
Do you still have a headache?
Nope.
Do you think the headache was connected with the swelling?
Absolutely.
So you think maybe the swelling went down now?
I don't know, I can't tell.
Well, let me put it this way.
feel like a little sore.
If the swelling was giving you a headache, and then you don't have the headache, the swelling went down, but it doesn't mean it's gone. It might still be swollen.
Yes.
But it's not pushing out. It stopped doing that. It's receding.
Something changed.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Now I'm going to now explain to you what you just saw. Believe it or not, that is exactly how quick it is to cure herpes. And one of the problems with this is because when people see that, and actually when they do it, they create the misunderstanding that they're cured. It's very much like taking an allopathic medicine where, let's say a drug addict has tuberculosis in New York City that he got from a dirty needle. And he goes to a clinic. Then they give him an antibiotic, and they test the tuberculosis, and they give him an antibiotic that's appropriate for it. And he takes the antibiotic, and he starts feeling better after a day or two. And he believes that the tuberculosis is gone, and a friend of his, who he shared the needle with, also has it, but doesn't want to go to the clinic, doesn't want to spend the time. So the drug addict gives his friend the rest of the antibiotic in the little vial, or sells it to him, and so he stops taking it. Well, the tuberculosis comes back, and when it comes back, it can actually be worse, because now the tuberculosis has gotten used to that antibiotic. And that's how these different strains of tuberculosis get created. So herpes can, being cured this way. See, this is an actual cure for herpes, okay? This is not a treatment. This is not about getting rid of the symptoms. It's about killing the virus and eradicating the disease from your body so that you don't find it anymore when you test. And you see, this kind of testing here with the little finger movement may look silly to you. I don't know. I have no idea how you've responded to it or taken to it. But it's actually a lot more sensitive and exact than any test your doctor can give you for herpes. You can find herpes with this where your doctor can't find it. And what that means is that it's actually possible that after a few weeks of doing this, you can get a negative medical test on herpes. You can, if you're really diligent about it, you can bring yourself to the point where you go back to wherever you get tested, and you get a negative medical result. And you can walk out of the clinic after getting that test and ask, do I have herpes in any of my bodies? And you can get this is not a signal, by the way, I'm just showing you, but you can get one of those. And you better listen to it when you get that, because that means you've got herpes, even though the doctor told you you don't have it. Which they don't anyway, because once you have had herpes, doctors never say you're cured. Never ever, because herpes is incurable. As far as they're concerned, if there's no medical cure, then there's no cure. That's all they know. They don't know you can cure your herpes yourself. They don't want to know unless they've got herpes. I mean, you may be a doctor, so, you may be hoping to cure your herpes, but you're probably not planning to tell anybody about it if you do. See, you may be wondering, if this works, why isn't everybody in the world doing it? And the reason is because most people, including doctors who do this, don't want to tell anybody that they ever had herpes or that they're... All right, it's time for me to put a little note in here to the MDs who are trying to cure their herpes in this program. How do I know you're there? Well, for one thing, a couple of you have written to me, but you've all become my Facebook friends, the ones I'm talking to anyway. And You know, I'm sure there are more of you because I haven't done this with everybody. But with sometimes when people ask me, you know, people who I don't know ask to be my Facebook friend, and see, there really is only one reason why anybody asks to be my Facebook friend who I don't know, which is they've got something that they want to cure. So number one, okay? So I know, and sometimes when I approve the request, I click on your name, and then I go in there and I find you're a surgeon or whatever kind of doctor you are. Or you wrote to me, you messaged me after you friended me, and there's one particular woman I'm talking to here, and I found out you were a surgeon when I clicked on your, you know, your note, your name there in the note. And you told me you had herpes in your private message that you sent me. You were afraid to say anything about it publicly, but you said something privately, so that's how I knew. And the other thing is that, see, we cure everything. Like, you know, if you are my Facebook friend, you see movies that I post on my Facebook wall, which I post another movie almost every day or so. And, you know, you got movies on MS, panic attacks, you know, lupus, hepatitis C, whatever. You know, there's movies on all kinds of things. And the thing is, you know, you see all these movies on all these different diseases. But what I see when I look at people coming in is for every person who has some other thing to cure, there are 200 people who are here to cure herpes. Herpes is the most common reason. I mean, you see all these movies I make on cancer and you think, oh, this is all about cancer, but there's hundreds of times the herpes sufferers coming in. So I'm going to assume, Mr. and Ms. MD, that you're here to cure your herpes because you can't cure it with your medical treatments. So you're looking for another way. So my note to you is this. You're going to need right now to have a class that you announce to your patients, their families, your colleagues, the hospital where you work, wherever. And also, see this cap? Buy one. And wear the cap to work. Lots of people will ask you about it. They do that. That's interesting because, you know, with most t-shirts, people don't ask about them. This t-shirt they don't ask about either. Nobody cares what the cure team is, you know. But when they see this, that they ask about. Why? Because 70% of the people who walk by you are hosting herpes. That's the statistic. This isn't what I channel. I didn't get a signal. How many people have herpes? Oh, let me test that. I didn't get a signal on that. I read Wikipedia. You know, I read the epidemiology section on herpes, under herpes. That's how I know. So if 100 people pass you in the hall in the hospital, 70 of them are hosting herpes. It will show up on their test. And so they need a class. And you need to give it, because not giving it is an ethical violation. It's morally reprehensible to be able to cure something and not tell other people it's possible for them to cure it. You're a physician, so your responsibility is 10 times that of an ordinary person. And that means you're going to have a class. Now, why am I not telling you to just, you know, give them the web address and let them come sign up for the herpes cure program? And I'll tell you why, because they don't. That's why. They come, they spend 8 seconds looking at it, and they leave. And it isn't because they don't believe it. For some of them it is. But for most of them, it's just something else. They have, you know, they're coming back. You know, they set a bookmark. They don't have time right now, whatever. No, you have to actually prescribe it. You have to tell them that you're giving a class, and you don't have to teach the class yourself. You're not morally reprehensible if you go play golf after work, okay? I'm not trying to ruin your life here. I'm just telling you that you can have your RN do it, or your receptionist, or whoever you want. You know, it's very easy to learn this, and for them to sit there and take people through the moves, and the people will then teach each other. You can put them in groups of 3 and they'll teach each other. We will help you. You know, you call us up and we'll teach you how to give the class, okay? It's not a problem. And even if we didn't teach you, you would very quickly figure it out, I'm sure. So it's not actually necessary for us to exist anymore now that we've given this to you. And that's a good thing, because I am, you know, I have a life too, you know. So I don't necessarily want to spend all my time helping people, even though I do feel, you know, some moral responsibility myself to do this. So, well, why don't we just tell them to go to the web? Well, they have to do that anyway. I mean, they have to sign up. This is their textbook. You know, the written lessons are, and the movies too. This is our equivalent of a textbook. It's not just movies. There are thousands of written lessons. And the people who come to cure herpes need a great many of them, and each one needs different ones, and they help each other find the ones. Okay, here's what we've learned about this. We see the people that we see succeeding, and there may be many, many people out there who are succeeding who we never hear from. That's possible. You know, that's totally possible. I wouldn't know. How would I know that? I didn't hear from them. Okay, so I wouldn't know, you know. But there may be many, many of them who just watch the movies and cure the things. But what we know is that the people who we see succeeding are doing the equivalent of a class with you every week. And when I say a class, I'm really talking about a meeting that your patients come to indefinitely for 6 months or a year until they get flying right. And because, you know, what you're going to have to explain to them is the way a cure with this works. It goes in stages. First, they learn how to control the outbreaks, which they may do the first day. See, for many people, the first time they ever do this is the last herpes outbreak they ever have. For me, it was. That was my last herpes outbreak, the day I started curing my herpes. Never had another outbreak after that. So that's their stage 1, is they control their outbreaks. That, like, they turn into Valtrex. Okay, now stage 2 is what happens is, as they stop the herpes, they're killing it. They're actually saying, I'm now killing the herpes. And as they kill it, they kill enough of it so a medical test no longer picks it up. They start getting negative medical tests. And you're going to have to monitor this. If they really want to cure this, you're probably going to need to do a whole series of medical tests with them over time, like every 3 months for, let's say, a year. And if it doesn't show up on any test you'll establish a criteria, let's say a year, 2 years, whatever. Then you can probably assume the herpes to be cured, gone forever from the person. And they stop finding it. You know, the thing that she was doing when you were watching the movie of the woman curing it, they don't find it anymore. Like, they test no instead of yes. That means it's dead. That's what no means. It means it's dead after they've been curing it. So, okay, this is what we notice people doing who are succeeding. okay, and going through this process of curing it. And what we notice is that the person, the infected person, becomes my Facebook friend, and then they see all these other people who are curing things writing to each other on Facebook. And they start writing to those people. And maybe at first they're scared to reveal themselves, so they just write private messages or something, or whatever. But they start contacting other people who are curing things, and before they know, and they're using the lessons in the web college concurrently with this. And then all of a sudden they're on a Skype call, looking at somebody's face on video Skype using their webcams, talking to each other. And, you know, like, oh, the guy will say, you know, I'm not real sure of my signals, you know, sometimes I'm not sure I'm getting a signal. And the other guy who's more experienced might be saying, oh, well, mine looks like this. You know, there was one woman, like her, she would revolve her finger, and something would happen to it when it was revolved. That's how she got signals. I don't actually even know what she did, but I remember that. So, see, they can. It's like being in the room with somebody, to be on Skype with them. And also, I've noticed that some of them buy that. There's something that Skype offers. I don't know that much about it, but you have to pay for it, and it doesn't cost that much from what I remember. We have it. The church, this is a church. This is it's funny, this is a religion. I tell people sometimes, I say, this is a religion, and they say, a lot of people hate religion, and they're turned off by that. But then there's a whole lot of them who also go like, oh really? Oh, that's great. What religion is it? And when they ask that, and I'll say like, it's this, and they say, yeah, I know it's this, of course, but what religion is it? And I go this. Anyway, so but the church owns that thing in Skype, and so they can have like 5 or 6 of them all looking at each other, see, and only one of them has to have it, so one of them has to pony up, but so they do that. They meet in groups and so on, and these are the people who succeed. They put together their own group, which is what I'm telling you as a physician, that it is your moral responsibility to do. Because if you send them to this web college by themselves, most of them will fail, because that's what happens with most of them. Most of them never even sign up much, and I don't know what happens to them after they do. And your job is to know what happens to them. That's what you do. You're a doctor. So try to remember that. And this isn't all about you. The world doesn't revolve around you, doctor, or whoever you are. You're not the center of the universe. Okay? You need to make your patients the center of the universe for you. They have to be your center. And you have to care enough about them to give them the real cure. Because it's unethical to prescribe a drug for somebody who can cure something themselves without it. Your job is to enable them to do that. Or at least give them the option. And also, you have to put something together for them that they can continue with long enough to have a real cure. See, because in the first month or so, they start controlling their outbreaks, and a lot of them just think, oh, great, I'm cured. And they're not. And see, we're not trying to turn them into Valtrex. That's just the first step, okay? We're trying to actually turn them into somebody who cures things. So that's what you're supposed to be empowering them to do. Medicine can be empowering if you actually behave ethically. You don't have to be a pill pusher for the rest of your life. And so with that, I have given my note and notice to doctors And so if I'm less than enthusiastic about you, if I see you're not doing that, what I'm telling you to do, this is why. And when you contact me, I'll be telling you to watch this movie from here on. Now, I've made this for you so that I can just refer you to it so you know what I expect of you before I deign to help you. Because I don't want to throw my help down a black hole. Understand? You with me on this? Good, okay. Well then, in that case, we have finished the notice to doctors, and this ends our emergency broadcast. I now return you to our regularly scheduled program. But anyway, that's what it looks like to cure herpes, what you saw her do. You know, and there's a change. The entire, she said the swelling was still there, or the cold sore may still be there. I actually saw a woman shrink her rosacea and make it disappear from her face once. I couldn't believe it. She was doing this, what you're learning, and she wasn't cured. She still had rosacea. She was having an outbreak, okay? But she had gotten herself to the point where she could do that. And you may be able to do that with, you know, cold sores and other, you know, like herpes pustules and things like that. It's possible. I don't know. You know, I haven't had a herpes outbreak since 1993, so I never had a chance to experiment and find out if I could do it. But still, you know, you might be able to, you know, anyway. But certainly, if you notice, there was a change in the physical characteristics of the herpes. You know, her pain disappeared because the swelling was less. The pressure inside there was reduced, and that's why she felt different. That herpes outbreak in there was enabled by the Epstein-Barr virus. You know, that's why it spread. Usually it doesn't spread like that. But the Epstein-Barr virus compromises people's immune systems. And so do a lot of other things. A lot of emotional things will compromise your immune system. Spiritual problems can compromise your immune system. And they do compromise your immune system. And if your immune system is compromised, it's going to enable your herpes. So you may have to learn quite a bit to actually eradicate the virus. I mean, you're almost certainly going to have to learn an enormous amount to eradicate the virus from your physical body. However, what I notice with most people, when they learn the things that you're learning in this movie, they succeed to some extent, and they develop a degree of control over whether or not they have an outbreak, and the length and or severity of the outbreak and all that stuff, you know, that all happens for them, you know. So that's what I see, and that can actually give them a false sense of success, so they don't go the distance, you know. And I want to see you go the distance. You know, I want you to eradicate the virus from your body. I want you to eradicate all fear, and I want you to tell the world that you've cured your herpes and help other people cure their herpes. I want you to be on the Cure team, which I had my Cure team t-shirt on when I made the original, you know, the first movie in this program. You know, so you may know what that is because you saw it then. It's, you know, and of course the organization. Here's our bumper sticker. You can see it's a non-profit. Orgs are non-profits. That's the organization. I certainly don't want to give you a false sense of success, but the fact is that the way you cure your herpes is you kill it, and and when you test it, it's gone, and it has to be gone from all your bodies. You have 12 bodies, one of them is the physical, and it has to be gone from all of them, especially the gravitational and spiral bodies. And when it's out of those, it just seems to disappear in the physical body when you take it out of the spiral body and gravitational body, and if you have it in some of the other bodies, then it may not disappear in the physical body so fast until you take it out of those too. But generally, you know, at that point, you don't really try to remove it from your physical body. You take it out of the other bodies, and then which of course is not what you saw in the movie. See, she knows how to do it with the other bodies, and so I was actually causing her to just sink her nails into the virus in her physical body right there, and I asked her just kill it, you know. And that is another thing that you do. That's actually somewhat unusual, but as you could see from, you know, what she did, it worked. And by the way, there was a woman years ago, here's an interesting little story. See, you're going to learn how to cure your herpes by learning how people cured other diseases. And there was a woman years ago with lupus who a friend of mine was helping cure her lupus. She had the lethal kind of lupus. And back then, my friend didn't actually realize that she was supposed to tell her friend to take it out of all of the bodies. So she just kept taking it out of the physical body, and she cured it. All the bodies affect each other. So theoretically, you could actually take it out of one body, and, you know, I mean, it might be a lot harder, but she used to talk to this person every day and do this with her. You know, and she did this for like a couple of months, and, you know, it worked. You know, there was the symptoms kept disappearing, and finally it was just gone. You know, I think she was over it for 7 years, and then it came back. But then she'd stop doing this. You can never, but that's another thing, you can never stop doing this, even long after it's gone. I don't know if you'll ever get herpes back if once it's gone, really gone, and you know, if you do this for a long time after that and then stop doing this, I don't know if herpes will come back, but something else will get you. So you actually discover that you can use this to make money. I mean, like at your job, at what you do, you know, doing this changes you so that you become better at everything. And also you would tend to attract good things to yourself because you're free of pathologies. So that's, you know, generally why people continue doing it, although, you know, arguably you also keep doing it because you don't want to ever get sick again with anything, such as cancer, for example. Okay. You know what I want to do? There is something else that I want to tell you about what you just saw, which is, you notice she felt different. There was an emotional tone change. She was peaceful. She was calm. You know what I want to do? I want to show that to you again. I'm just going to show you that short section. Pay attention here, okay? How do you seem to yourself?
Very calm. Very,
yeah, that's how you look.
very, almost like I could take a nap, to be honest with you.
Well, you couldn't sleep last night because you were sick.
Yes.
Did you do any of this when you were feeling that way?
Yes.
And did it help?
Oh yeah, it always helps, absolutely.
And when it helped, I guess you went to sleep when it helped, right?
Yes.
And then after a while you woke up again and you were sick.
Yes.
Now that happened to Franny, the very last flu that Franny ever got. She woke up every hour and a half. She was waking up all night, and she would take the flu out of all her bodies. And when she woke up in the morning, it was gone.
Wow.
She never had another flu. That was in 1996. 14
That's
years.
awesome.
Yeah, 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you're feeling very calm now.
Yeah.
Do you still have a headache?
Nope.
Do you think the headache was connected with the swelling?
Absolutely.
So you think maybe the swelling went down now?
I don't know. I can't tell.
Well, let me put it this way.
I feel like a little sore.
If the swelling was giving you a headache, and then you don't have the headache, the swelling went down, but it doesn't mean it's gone. It might still be swollen.
Yes.
But it's not pushing out. It's stopped doing that. It's receding.
Something changed.
Yeah. Okay. That feeling, that calm feeling, is another signal. See, everybody gets that when they cure anything. So actually, this is a lot like meditation. But it isn't, because you don't have to meditate to get there. You do this, and in 1 second, you're in that. It just comes over you like this complete feeling of peacefulness and serenity and love and courage, power, compassion. You know, I'll tell you something about being afraid to tell people that you have herpes. Very interesting that if you notice, when you have that calm feeling, when you're in that peaceful place, you are completely devoid of any fear. You're not scared of anybody. You don't care what anybody thinks or says to you or what they want from you. And it doesn't matter. It can be your husband or your wife or something. You do not care. You don't care. It's their problem. If they got a problem, it's their problem. You know? And so if you're not feeling that way, then you obviously either have herpes or are susceptible to it. Am I making any sense here? So anytime you ever feel like, see this cap? I recommend that you buy one and wear it whenever you go out, at least for a couple of weeks. And if you ever notice that you're uncomfortable wearing it, when people get a kit, we give them a bumper sticker. I have a feeling that most people don't put them on their cars. And, they don't quite know why, or they just say, well, I don't want to deface my car or whatever. I have a nice car, I don't want to put a bumper sticker on it. They have a story they tell themselves, because people are always telling themselves stories to alibi their bullshit. And the fact is, they're frightened. So if you're frightened, see, if you can walk around wearing this cap, and you're totally serene and fine, you do not have herpes. Okay? You are at that point. So if you can do that for 2 weeks and stay herpes free for 2 weeks, you're going to be, in a very cured of herpes kind of place. And it's all going to be downhill from there, and then you can take the cap off for a while, wear a different hat for a while, or no hat. Quit messing your hair up. But that's the point, is that serenity is a signal that you've cured something. Or a better way of putting it is that you are cured of it. And it takes a little longer. If you notice, it took a minute for her to get there. After she killed the virus, there was this, place where the thing came over her, and then she went, oh yeah, I'm feeling calm. Yeah, okay. That's right. Okay. I'm peaceful. Yeah. See, it took her a second. And that signal is more. See this little finger movement? See that little finger movement? The peaceful place is more important than the finger movement, but the finger movement is more immediate. The finger movement is how you navigate. That's how you get to the calm place. And the calm place is the signal you're trying to get. And that means that you're going to get a negative medical test, which is another signal, right? What's a medical test? That's another test. It's another signal. Like we say test test this. That means see if you get a signal. When we say the word test, it means, hey, test that question, we'll say. And that means, can you get a signal on that? And so these are all tests. A medical test is another kind of test. We like tests. We like medical tests too, because they're very good tests. You with me? You with me on this? Are we together on this? Because now we got to, wait a minute, not so fast. The movie isn't over yet. You have some more to learn. So what we're going to do now is you are going to now listen to a very short little question and answer thing from a woman who cured her herpes, and she's wondering how to keep it cured, and this is what you really got to take away from this movie. What's coming. Okay? So pay attention. Pay attention. You're not saved yet.
I was intrigued the other day when we did the video that
Okay.
we were removing herpes, and you said that herpes are in 4 of the bodies.
Yeah.
And when I removed it in the past, I thought it was in all, I just thought you had to remove something in all 12 of the bodies.
No, you have to find it. You want to be able to feel the bodies.
But were you saying that herpes specifically or typically in 4 of those bodies in everyone?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was saying that was where I found it.
I got you.
And
okay.
also that it's really, typically, for almost everybody, it's in 2 of them.
Okay.
And really only 1, which is the spiral.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I didn't know that. That was interesting to know. And does that now go with other diseases too, that other diseases tend to be more in specific bodies than others?
Yes.
Certain diseases, do they tend to hang out in specific bodies? Like, should I be focused on...
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I kept finding it in my spiral body.
Yeah.
But now I don't find it anymore when I check. It dies off. If you don't let it outbreak, it dies off. So if you keep it out of your spiral, gravitate, those bodies for, for me it was probably around 18 months. That's how you cure it. But you just have to, keep checking, okay? Promise?
Yeah.
And tell us about your visit in Florida where you usually would get a herpes outbreak and you didn't get one.
I didn't get one because I was really focused on keeping it removed the whole time I was there.
Have you had one since?
No.
Well, let's keep it out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
How about that? Because it dies off. See, I don't have to check for it anymore. It's gone. It took... When this movie ends, you're going to have 2 options. Well, I mean, actually, of course, it's always an option to just not cure it, You could just do that. So that's another option, but I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm going to talk about the 2 options for curing it or proceeding 2 options for going forward with your cure. Let me put it that way. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Two options for proceeding forward with your cure, which is you're going to find out is way beyond curing any physical disease. Curing physical disease is the first thing we show people how to do. It's the most basic, simple, and easiest thing we show people how to do. And so the option number 1 is to donate $24 and to go on to part 2 of the Herpes Cure Program, which is another movie. And that movie, then you will have access to the whole Cure College when you donate. So the movie will tell you, what other things to use from the Cure College than, to cure your herpes. And the other option, which is the one most people do, is to not donate anything, because for one reason or another, most people, you know, don't want to donate or can't or won't or whatever. I'm not going to get into it, okay? But most people don't donate when they start. The other option is to watch a lot more movies. And there are probably about 1,000 movies on the web of people curing things just that I've put up. So, and then there could be movies that you put up too. God, you can make your own movies and show, you know, once you get going with this, show you and other people curing things. Wouldn't that be something? But right now what you've got is basically movies that I, for the Cure Drive, have co-created with people like the ones you've seen as partners. And they are the contributors. See, the truth is that you can't pay for this because somebody else already bought you your cure. And that's why you were handed your cure in this movie, because somebody paid for this. It wasn't just me either, as you can see. And but what you can do is you can pay for somebody else's cure. That's donating. That's what donating is. It's just paying it forward, you know, paying for what you were given by giving it to somebody else. Anyway, that's the other option, is to just, I mean, there's a bunch of movies on the bottom of the page that this movie is embedded in, if that's where you found it. Or if you found it on YouTube and you click on it there, you can go to that page and you'll see there's other movies than this one there. This one will play automatically, and then there's a bunch beneath it about curing herpes. One of them says that somebody took Valtrex and still got outbreaks. That's an interesting one. You should watch that one probably. You are going to be watching movies as you go along. Well, I mean, part 2 of the herpes cure program starts with a movie, you know, so you're going to be watching more movies, just probably not that one if you don't donate, because that one's only accessible to people who join the program. But there are other movies of people curing herpes that you can get without donating anything that are up on YouTube. You can find all people curing all kinds of things, and whatever you watch them cure, you will learn from. And you're going to be doing that anyway. You're going to be watching a lot of people curing a lot of things. And you're going to be curing a lot of things besides your herpes. Because you're going to learn, and see, people say to me, like, why do you go so long? Why do you spend so long talking about signing up? But see, I'm not talking about signing up. I'm talking about curing your disease. Because you've been handed the cure, but that doesn't mean you're going to cure it. You're going to actually have to cure it. To cure it. The cure is you. You know, you're the cure, okay? I don't know if you quite registered on that yet. So you are the cure for this. And you're going to have to cure a lot of things, because you have to cure a lot of things to cure one thing. That's a little saying. You should probably remember that. You have to cure a lot of things to cure one thing. And you're going to be watching a lot of people in a lot of movies cure a lot of things. Now, the Web College makes curing easy when you're rolling along, because the Web College has, you know, like thousands of written lessons. And there are a lot of them that you need to do right now, and then some that you'll need to do later, and so on. So, and you know, it's a lot easier to use a written lesson than to watch a movie, because a written lesson on one page, you see the movie and you start doing it yourself, and then you're the movie, you know. You're actually experiencing it without watching somebody else do it, because you're following these instructions, see. And there are instructions for curing, you know, just thousands of things. This is the Cure College. This is the bumper sticker that we put on our cars. And you see, if you notice, it has the tally on it. 87,000 cures and counting. This one says we're over 100,000 reported cures at this point. And we're all over the world. And we meet on Fridays. The Cure team does. The Cure team meets on Fridays. And you know, another thing you'll be doing, which also, by the way, you don't have to donate anything to come to the Monday evening meeting and be with people who are curing things and cure along with Mitch, you know, because that's where you follow the bouncing ball in the Monday evening meeting and cure things, as our star prayer giver, Ron Brody, says things that you test on and do immunic actions and cure things with. That's what the meeting is. That's why we call it a cure meeting. And in case you haven't noticed, these things that we're doing, they're a type of prayer. It's just that in this case, God actually talks to you. Instead of you talking to God, God speaks to you through your signals. And one of those signals, to go back to this, is the calm, clear place, that flat, empty feeling that is very courageous and powerful that people get when they do this. And the reason I'm going back to it now is because I want to say that you might not get yourself a subscription to the Cure College today. Maybe you're just, you know, whatever, you know, you just, it's, you know, you're just not going to do that, okay? I don't know why, but you won't. And, but you will continue, maybe you will continue going for your cure. And that's a very laudable thing to do. And it will just be harder for you. You know, some people like doing things the hard way. Maybe that could be it, you know? You just like doing it the hard way, okay? Great! Hey, do it! Whatever way you do it, you know? The important thing is the cure. And by the way, in the middle of that, you'll probably cure yourself of doing things the hard way at some point. Because these things tend to go in that flat, unreactive place that you get to when you do this. And at some point, when you get there often enough, you know what? I think I should show it to you again, just to make it really clear what I'm talking about, like what part of the movie I'm talking about. I'm just going to show you this little tiny section so you can see it. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you feel any different?
Yes.
What's the difference?
Very just calm, peaceful.
Okay. Well, I think we made a good demonstration. What do you think?
I think so too.
How do you seem to yourself?
Very calm. Very,
Yeah, that's how you look.
very, almost like I could take a nap, to be honest with you.
Well, you couldn't sleep last night because you were sick.
Yes.
Did you do any of this when you were feeling that way?
Yes.
And did it help?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's what it looks like. And what I was starting to say about it is that it's cumulative. So if you do this all day, you will find that your baseline goes up and you're starting from a more healthy place, a more immune place, less reactive, less and more responsive and more loving and so on. You become more loving and clearer. And you know, it's kind of interesting. I think I'll digress for a second. You ever hear of an author named Eckhart Tolle? He wrote a book called The Power of Now. Really interesting guy, nice guy. I very much enjoyed his book. And recently, one of our students who's been curing back pain, just started talking about him, and I remembered I enjoyed his book, and I said, oh gee, I ought to listen to that again. I use audiobooks. I don't read, actually. So I slapped on his audiobook again, and I had forgotten that at the beginning of the book, he talks about how he got into doing what he does, and what happened was he went to the calm, clear place. Except he doesn't know how he got there. It happened by accident. And also, it was a really very calm, clear place. He said it came on suddenly, and we call it a big bang. You know, as you cure things, you go to various versions of this calm, clear place. Some of them are very mild. They're minor. You know, you just feel a little more relaxed or something. It's nothing, you know. And then others are like, boing, you know, like you're just, you know, you're gone. And, you know, your friends look at you and they say, whatever it is you've been smoking, I want some, you know? Because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're on a drug, you know? And people were walking up to him. He said he was sitting in the park, and people walked up to him and said, what have you got? I want it. How do I get there? You know? So he started doing workshops. Later he wrote a book. Anyway, he doesn't know how he did it. You know, he doesn't know how it happened for him. But the thing is, we're teaching you how to do consciously and intentionally, obviously, what he did accidentally. That's what this is. Okay, you're learning to do this intentionally, what he did by accident. And so, all right, so, and also, see, when you're in that calm, clear place, at that point, you will sign up for the web college for a couple of reasons. Okay, one of the reasons is just you will be grateful and you will want to donate some money. At that point, you'll say, I want to give you something. You know, you may not be quite there yet, you know. But the other one is that you will know that if you go in that web college, within the first 5 minutes you will find something that you missed and have been missing. And you will change, like immediately, because at that point you will be, you know, getting this calm, clear signal when you cure things, and you will know there is more and that you need to find it. That's how I found this. People always ask me, how did you find this? And the answer was, I woke up one morning when I was living in the Florida Keys and realized that there was something I needed to find. And I went looking for it. And I realized I would never find it if I stayed on Sugarloaf Key. So I moved out of the house and went to San Francisco. And that was the beginning of finding this. Long ago, I had to take the first step. I had to decide that there was something out there that I needed and go after it. Oh, I've got a hair. Anyway, so I also, at the point when you go in the web college how can I guarantee that you will find it in 5 minutes? I'll tell you how. Because you are going to use what we're showing you to find it. So that the thing that it would have taken you 2 years to stumble across, because you can work in the web college for years. Because you can work in the web college for years and never do everything that's there. So, but the reason that I know that you will find the thing you need immediately is because you will use what we're showing you to find it. And once you do that and you've taken that out, then you can write to Eckhart Tolle, that author, and you can tell him that he needs to join the web college. So, because the same thing will happen for him. If he tests through the web college, he will find something that he missed. And so will you. I can make this guarantee. And what will happen if that nice author decides to join the web college and he writes to me and says, I didn't find anything that I needed. And I want my donation back. Am I going to give him back his donation? No, because it's a church, and the church it's used for. The donations become public property. That's why there's there's nothing where you can get a refund. So you really do, when you sign up for this, you're on this repeating monthly thing. And if you don't want to continue donating every month, you really do need to cancel it. You have to go into PayPal and cancel it. You have to be conscious of that, because I have personally left things running longer than I wanted to on the internet. So I will say, I know this from experience. But anyway, no, I won't refund his donation, but I will write him a personal apology. And signed by me. So, all right, anyway, it's good being with you, and it's nice that you're exploring this, and that you are going to, if you continue to explore it, you will cure your herpes, or whatever else it is that you have. It basically takes out, I haven't had a flu in all this time, since 1993, I haven't gotten a flu. So it's really good to know you, or to not know you, since since I'm a movie. Good to have been able to give this to you, and see you when I do. This movie was given to you by HUM, the World Ministry of Immunics, which enables you to cure medically incurable diseases. We also produce the Cure Drive and the iCollege of Immunics. This is the home page. And as you see here, the movie that starts playing automatically when the page opens is a 3-hour tutorial film, which underneath it is the beginning of a series of movies. If you click on these links, you go to another movie that's a continuation of the tutorial, showing different aspects of the things that people need to get into when they cure things. The movie shows many people curing things. You'll find complete cure tutorials on the home page. Under the group at the top is another, this is a video and text tutorial, and if you click on the link, you'll see it has 10 lessons, and you can click on each lesson and you'll see that the lessons are movies interspersed with explanations. And if you continue scrolling down the home page, you'll find a huge bank of movies of people curing things. Here's one of someone curing multiple sclerosis that you can click on, and these play. Hopefully this one will play in a moment. There it is. So that woman cured PPMS and MS. Here you'll find people from every continent: Europe, the US, Asia, Canada. This woman cured shingles, and in this particular movie that's what she's demonstrating. And at the top of the home page you will find links to the cure meetings that we have every week. 9 p.m. New York time, Rome time 8 p.m. Underneath the Cure meetings, you'll find a link to friend me. It's actually Byard. I'm Byard, speaking to you on Facebook. And you'll meet many people who are my Facebook friends there who have cured various diseases. Many of us have cured herpes, which is what I cured. Also there, if you have trouble getting signals, there is a whole bank of movies that focus on people who are just starting to get their first signals. Many of these people went on to bigger and better things, and you see them in other movies. But these are movies about their signals, how they got their first signals. At the very top of the home page, you will find above the masthead a link to the cure shows. And we documented people curing things on, these are on the, we did this on the phone. There are shows on about 75 diseases, and the diseases are listed alphabetically, as you can see. You actually hear the people curing these diseases during these shows. That's post-traumatic stress syndrome from 9/11, you know, the catastrophe. We have a show on that, and fever, somebody curing the fever, several people curing fibromyalgia, flu. We had a flu hotline, and there are many people. These people are actually curing flu, and the flu stops. It clears up during the 15 or 20 minutes of the call. It doesn't take long to cure the flu. Over here you have paralysis, parasitic parenting, Parkinson's disease. When you cure something, please join your voice with the voices of the many people who came before you by reporting your cure in our poll, which you can do right above the tally of the cures that people have reported is here at the top. And as you can see, there's a little link here. And if you click on that, you will come to a form that enables you to report your cure. This page is the hub of the Web College, and as you can see, there are detailed lessons on how to remove viruses, cure cancer. Here's a movie on the right here of a doctor who actually years ago cured the flu on camera. You'll notice that skill 1 in the hierarchy of skills is cure physical diseases. That's actually the easiest thing with this particular approach. And I've put a great many things in the hierarchy of skills that relate to curing physical diseases, such as ending trauma, working on your organs. Now, if we go into the Recode Your DNA, there are 10 applications or 11 applications, and Recode Your DNA is one of them. If we go inside here, what we see is a page with a huge amount of links. And then if we look at the links on the right, after the ones on the left which prepare you, these are the actual lessons. And you can see some of them. It might be hard for some people to see why blind installation procedure is related to recoding your DNA. And this is why we've put it in this application, so that it relates it in your mind. This is the reason the Web College is organized the way it is to relate things for you in your mind. And obviously there are a huge number of things, like if you're curing cancer or herpes or any medically incurable disease, it's obvious that there are a great many things that you have to learn. And they're different for everybody. You do not have to learn everything that's listed here. And in fact, cure is instantaneous. And it's always unexpected how it will come. Like, watch these women. They're going to give you a perspective. This is a good way to conclude this little overview I'm giving you here. Say, can I go to the 144th dimension? See if you get a signal on that. Can I go to the 144th dimension?
Can I go to the 144th dimension? Yes? I guess I can.
Go ahead and do it.
Okay, both of you go to the 144th dimension.
I'm taking myself to the 144th dimension.
Me too.
No stopping for gas on the 8th dimension.
I feel clear.
I feel less interested in anything below the 144th dimension.
Can we stay here all the time?
I know, exactly.
Well, I mean, this would take a lot of backstory, but there are some decisions that my family's making that I now feel clear about.
Yes, because when you have that perspective from the 144th dimension,
Yeah.
you simply don't care about anything as much.
That's exactly it. But I don't care doesn't sound so good.
Well, see, that's right.
But it's it. That's really
Not in effect.
When people hear we say we don't care, they go, "Well, God, that's sick," you know.
Okay, I know.